Thank you for joining NMH at 1, where we highlight the news making headlines in the land of the brave and beyond, ranging from current affairs to community stories, sports and economic news. In the news today, Xinfeng workers live in apartheid conditions. Katima to appoint competent road contractors. Increasing Ongwediva councillors' allowances is not a priority. I am Ashwin Berry and this is NMH at 1. The city of Windhoek has announced that it will be providing water to its clients as usual tomorrow. Our reservoirs are full and we are ready for tomorrow. There is no need to panic about water supply interruption from NamWater to Windhoek. Let us just kindly use water sparingly as usual during this period, it said in a statement. Remember to engage with these stories on our social media throughout the broadcast. Visual news coming up after the break.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia as we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and Oneuptwo.com, as well as broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Algemeine Zeitung, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia, for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
Deputy Minister of Information and patron for the Ondangwa Adolescents and Youth Health Plus Center, Emma Theophilus, had a heartwarming session with young people at the center to educate them on sexual and reproductive health and rights. Theophilus encouraged young people to be in charge of their sexuality and to know the status of the people they get into sexual relationships with. She also stressed that they educate each other to end the stigma against HIV and AIDS.
It just shows that we have a serious concern then in our society, that somebody could be so happy going around infecting other people with HIV and AIDS. So in my legal studies, I've read cases, sometimes really in Namibia and beyond, where HIV and AIDS can be seen as, and especially at the time when ARVs were not available, there was, and still there is no cure, but ARVs nowadays can lower the CD4 count and the ability of one to pass on the virus. But when a time where HIV truly was almost like a death sentence, I've seen in some jurisdictions where anybody who willingly infected somebody else with HIV and AIDS actually was tried like somebody trying to kill the next person. Because it's not right. You're doing it, deliberately and intentionally. It's just vile. So it's a wake-up call for all of us. But thank God for medicine and thank God for science. Medicine has evolved. HIV and AIDS is not a death sentence anymore. Yes, you will have a different lived experience than anybody else. But we see nowadays cancer is killing faster than HIV does. COVID-19 killed faster than HIV does. So we must get to a point where we need to destigmatize HIV and AIDS, but never encourage for people to actually get into sexual activity with partners they don't trust, but also not encourage people to willingly infect others that didn't want that type of burden on their life or different lived experience on their life. So it's a wake-up call and a lesson for us, if anything. I hope that responds to your question.
Last week, IPPR's Frederico Links launched a new procurement tracker in addition to highlighting recent events that occurred at TransNamib. According to Links, the company is following in the footsteps of Air Namibia and might face the same fate.
then, of course, there was the announcement of the pharmaceutical supply tender just 2 weeks ago, the awarding of that tender in late April, and the transparency issues that emerged around that specific tender, that we feel the explanations, the rationales given for why only the unit prices have been given and not the total contract values that have been awarded to specific bidders, and why that is problematic and how this undermines transparency in the system, and why this rate-based procurement is problematic. So, I mean, there's an article on that as well in this edition of Procurement Traffic. So that's it. That's the end of my section of the presentation.
SWAPO Vice President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah has called upon SWAPO members to unite following the outcome of last year November's SWAPO Elective Congress. She made these remarks on Saturday during a rally in Rundu.
Regardless you were supporting during the internal campaign, we must now full support the leadership we have elected and work with them. As we are all aware, we shall be going to the polls for presidential and National Assembly elections in 2024. Similarly, in 2025, we will be heading to the regional and local authority elections. As principled party members, we are duty-bound to agree to work together for the party to continue growing strong in order to ensure that it emerges out of all those planned elections victorious. Having said that, dear comrades, I must now thank all the delegates to the 7th Congress of the SWAPO Party for their political maturity and, of course, for having renewed their confidence by re-electing me as the Vice President of SWAPO Party and, of course, the entire leadership. And I want to assure you that I am committed, I am determined, and I'm willing to work with you in order to bring about prosperity and sustainable development in our country.
Now, a series of events are being lined up by the ruling party to counter what many have hailed as an inclusivity Supreme Court judgment. An update on this story follows in the newspaper review segment.
Newsprint Namibia is a web offset printing operation that specializes in the printing of newspapers and commercial inserts. We are the leaders in our industry, with the highest quality print work and the shortest turnaround time from computer to print and delivery anywhere in the country daily. Newsprint was established mainly as a newspaper print company, but had to diversify its business to do commercial printing as required in the market. We print commercial inserts previously printed in South Africa in the shortest possible time. We, as an organization, also started printing workbooks for our education system and will also print textbooks for the Namibian market. For more information, please contact print@newsprint.com.
Namibian Sun's front page reports that SWAPO is planning to summon all its members of parliament and instruct them to reject through legislation last week's landmark Supreme Court ruling that recognized same-sex marriages involving Namibians and contracted aboard. There is also a push within the party's Central Committee and Politburo to isolate President Hage Geingob and rely on the remaining 3 members of the party's top 4 leaders because the head of state is viewed as too liberal and thus likely to support same-sex marriages as per the verdict. Now, Geingob's remarks last year that there is no room in his proverbial Namibian house for laws discriminating against citizens on, among others, grounds of gender. On page 3, the city of Windhoek has assured residents, and in particular the Groot Aube and Brakwater communities, that they will not be affected by disconnections mooted by NamPower. A city media release said the council has made the necessary payment arrangements to ensure that any outstanding debt to the utility is settled. This is in response to a notice issued by NamPower earlier this month with regard to the suspension of electricity for clients in arrears. Republican informs that tourists were eyewitnesses to an accident on Friday in which a vehicle of Namibia Wildlife Resorts bumped a leopard that wanted to cross the road. The accident happened approximately at 40 minutes past 5 p.m. and 15 kilometers from the King Nehale Gate. The vehicle seemed to be much faster than the speed limit of 60 kilometers per hour. On page 3, Agribank is of the opinion that local chicken producers should see the global shortage of poultry products as an opportunity to grow their produce themselves. Growth should be considered, while Namibian farmers must also take note of local shortage potatoes. According to April's economic report, this is a chance for Namibian farmers to supply these products to increase and improve their income. Agamana Zeitung today is opening with UN special rapporteurs which have voiced criticism of the planned genocide agreement between Namibia and Germany. The Member of Parliament, Dag de Leyen, accuses the German government of inaction after special rapporteurs of the United Nations expressed considerable shortcomings in Germany's planned genocide agreement with Namibia. The German government has not yet reacted to the criticism despite an extension of the deadline. On page 3 of the AZ, new anti-gay groups on social media with ministers and police officers as members are openly agitating against Namibian LGBTQ+ and denouncing them by name. We continue with the Namibian newspaper after the break. The Namibian newspaper reports that the lithium mining company Xinfeng Investments made fraudulent and misleading statements and used plagiarized material when it applied for a mining license that was granted to it in September last year, the Minister of Mines and Energy Tom Alwendo says in an affidavit filed at the Windhoek High Court. Alwendo is making this claim in an affidavit filed in response to an urgent application that Xinfeng Investments filed 2 weeks ago in a bid to have Alwendo's withdrawal from the company's mining license stopped. On page 3, Zambezi Regional Governor Lawrence Sampofu has urged the Katima Mulilo Town Council to ensure they award road tenders to competent companies to avoid paying twice for the same job. He made this call on Friday during the signing of a 5-year agreement by the Katima Mulilo Town Council's Chief Executive Officer, Rafael Liswaniso, Roads Authority CEO Conrad Lutombi, and Road Fund Administration CEO Ali Ipinge at Katima Mulilo. Through this agreement between the 3 entities, the RA and RFA will assist the Town Council with financial and technical support to improve Katima Mulilo's dilapidated road infrastructure. On New Era's front page, Namibian workers employed at the lithium mine owned by Longfire Investments and Xinfeng Investments are subjected to inhumane living conditions at the mine site while their Chinese colleagues live comfortably. These shocking disparities were witnessed firsthand by the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Natural Resources and journalists during a visit to the mine site about 60 kilometers from Uis for a public hearing on alleged illegal lithium mining in the Daures constituency. On page 3, allowances for councillors at the Ongwediva local authority have remained unchanged for the 2023-24 financial year. This is because the town service tariffs have also remained unchanged. Explaining the decision, Ongwediva Mayor Tara Shalyefu, during a budget statement on the financial year, indicated the councillors' allowances were kept unchanged, as increasing these were not a priority for the town. We are trying to prioritize important things, and unfortunately, they are not enough resources. Market Watch reports that the Capricorn Foundation at the Women at Work second graduation ceremony for this year announced its continued support of the project with a donation of 350,000 Namibian dollars. The Capricorn Foundation has supported the Women at Work Training Center since its establishment in 2009. The Women at Work Training Center is an association not for gain, incorporated under Section 21 of the Companies Act, and a registered welfare organization in terms of the National Welfare Act. Safari camp operators challenge oil drilling. More on this story in economic news after the break.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia, when we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians sharing their stories. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and Oneuptwo.com, and broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Algemeine Zeitung, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia, for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
The operators of safari camps charging more than $1,000 a night have lodged objections against a planned oil exploration program in Zimbabwe's premier wildlife area, Mana Pools. African bush camps, which offers destinations across the country, including Nyamatusi Camp in Mana Pools, said on 15 May in a letter to the Mining Affairs Board that granting shallow mining the permit would exacerbate global warming and biodiversity loss. Wilderness Safaris, which operates 3 camps in Mana Pools, also said it objected. Let's head into the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar is trading at 21.04 next to the euro. 24.21 Namibian dollars gets you 1 British pound. Looking at stocks, MTC was on 7.08, whilst Namibia Breweries Limited was on 35.99. Overall index closed up 0.90%, whilst the local index closed on 636.09 points. And looking at commodities, gold upped its value by 0.75, whilst Brent crude oil made a dip of 0.10%. The ruling party in Mauritania scored a comfortable victory in last week's legislative and local elections. Africa news after the break.
Newsprint Namibia is a web offset printing operation that specializes in the printing of newspapers and commercial inserts. We are the leaders in our industry, with the highest quality print work and the shortest turnaround time from computer to print and delivery anywhere in the country daily. Newsprint was established mainly as a newspaper print company, but had to diversify its business to do commercial printing as required in the market. We print commercial inserts previously printed in South Africa in the shortest possible time. We, as an organization, also started printing workbooks for our education system and will also print textbooks for the Namibian market. For more information, please contact print@newsprint.com.
The ruling party in Mauritania scored a comfortable victory in last week's legislative and local elections, according to official results on Sunday, a litmus test for the veteran head of state ahead of next year's presidential poll. The elections were the first since 2019, when President Mohamed Ould Ghazouani came to power. He has overseen the West African country's relative stability in the increasingly violent Sahel region and is widely expected to seek re-election in 2024, although he has not confirmed his plans. Ghazouani's Insaf party was the favorite to win among 25 parties vying for the backing of the country's 1.8 million voters. Insaf took 80 of the 176 seats in parliament, announced the head of the Independent Electoral Commission, Da Abdel Jalil. 36 other seats went to parties allied with the president and 24 to the opposition, 9 of them to the Islamist Tewasol movement. Now, Tewasol, which is seeking a strict application of Islamic law, was the main opposition group in the outgoing parliament, in which Insaf had a comfortable victory. There will be a runoff vote on May 27 for the remaining 36 parliamentary seats. Insaf won all 13 regional councils, and 165 of the 238 local constituencies are up for grabs. The opposition has complained of massive fraud in the elections, which saw an official turnout of 71.8%. We'll be heading into international news, starting with China.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia as we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and Oneuptwo.com, as well as broadcast.
State-backed Chinese mouthpiece Global Times called the G7 an anti-China workshop on Monday, a day after Beijing summoned Japan's envoy and berated Britain in a fiery response to statements issued at the group summit in Hiroshima. Group of 7 declarations issued on Saturday singled out China on issues including Taiwan, nuclear arms, economic coercion, and human rights abuses, underscoring the wide-ranging tensions between Beijing and the group of rich countries, which includes the United States. The U.S. is pushing hard to weave an anti-China net in the Western world. Global Times said in an editorial on Monday titled G7 has descended into an anti-China workshop. This is not just a matter of brutal interference in China's internal affairs and smearing China, but also an undisguised urge for confrontation between the camps. Beijing's foreign ministry said it firmly opposed the statement by the G7, which also includes Japan, Britain, Canada, France, Germany, and Italy, and late Sunday said it had summoned Japan's ambassador to China in a pointed protest to the summit host. Russia, a close ally of China that was also called out in the G7 statement over its war in Ukraine, said the summit was an incubator for anti-Russian and anti-Chinese hysteria. Separately, China's embassy in Britain urged London to stop slandering China after British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said Beijing represents the world's greatest challenge to security and prosperity. We'll be heading into local sports after this short break. Windhoek Gymnasium Lions travelled to the coast to take on Walvish Bay Private School at Narki Park in their first game of the Standard Bank Namibia Secondary School Rugby Super League. The Lions, who won the competition last year, had to dig deep to defeat WBPS on their home turf 31-17. The MTC Winter Cup concluded successfully over the weekend, with Able Surprise, owned by WT Christians, winning the open 2,000-meter race at the Gobabis turf. In second and third place were Bold Diva from Angermond Racing and Starley from Okahanja Racing, respectively. Okakarara Young Warriors have joined the Deb Marine Namibia Premiership following their promotion from the First Division. They become the second team after Comas Nampo to gain promotion. We'll be swinging over to international sports shortly.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia, when we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians sharing their stories. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and Oneuptwo.com, and broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Algemeine Zeitung, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia, for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
Manchester City celebrated their third consecutive Premier League title on Sunday as a much-changed side was still good enough to beat Chelsea 1-0 at the Etihad. Pep Guardiola's men clinched a fifth title in 6 seasons on Saturday. There was a lot of talk of Irish domination towards the end of the league phase of the Vodacom United Rugby Championship season, but the events of the playoff stages of both that competition and the Heineken Champions Cup have changed the narrative. Liv Golf's Brooks Koepka won the PGA Championship by 2 shots over world number 2 Scotty Scheffler and Norway's Victor Hovland at Oak Hill Country Club on Sunday for his 5th career major title. If you're just joining us, this is still NMH at 1, and we'll get into the highlights from today's broadcast after the break.
Newsprint Namibia is a web offset printing operation that specializes in the printing of newspapers and commercial inserts. We are the leaders in our industry with the highest quality print work and the shortest turnaround time from computer to print and delivery anywhere in the country daily. Newsprint was established mainly as a newspaper print company, but had to diversify its business to do commercial printing as required in the market. We print commercial inserts previously printed in South Africa in the shortest possible time. We, as an organization, also started printing workbooks for our education system and will also print textbooks for the Namibian market. For more information, please contact print@newsprint.com.
Let's get into the news highlights from this afternoon's broadcast. The ruling party in Mauritania scored a comfortable victory in last week's legislative and local elections, according to official results on Sunday, a litmus test for the veteran head of state ahead of next year's presidential poll. State-backed Chinese mouthpiece Global Times called the G7 an anti-China workshop on Monday, a day after Beijing summoned Japan's envoy and berated Britain in a fiery response to statements issued at the group summit in Hiroshima. And Okakarara Young Warriors have joined the Deb Marine Namibia Premiership following their promotion from the First Division. They become the second team after Commerce Nampo to gain promotion. Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia, Africa and the world, ranging from current affairs to economic news, sports and international headlines. It's goodbye from us in studio.